Welcome once again to the Guy Who Knows a Guy podcast. I am your host, Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy himself, and we are recording live to tape at Podapalooza number 15. Over the past 5 years, I've had the privilege of meeting and learning from thousands of entrepreneurs, experts, and awesome people, and now I leverage that knowledge to help my clients cut through the junk and focus on what they need to achieve their goals. Now, I'm excited to introduce our next guest, Elisa Bogarts. Did I say that right?
Bogarts. Elisa
Bogarts.
Bogarts. Yeah.
I even knew that because I've known Elisa for a while, and she's corrected me, and then I recorrect myself away from the correct Bogarts. It's the easy pronunciation, not the weird pronunciation.
Yeah, it looks like Bogarts, but it's not.
I'm drawn to the weird. But so Elisa is a launch manager, so she helps coaches launch their programs, events with ease. So they can focus on scaling their business. So she does the technical stuff with her experience in project management and coaching to get her clients ready to launch. And so she does all the techie stuff. So, I do the networking stuff. She does the techie stuff. And there's a natural synergy there. So, Elisa, welcome to the show.
Hey, Michael, thank you so much for having me. Great to be on here. I love that we're doing this. Yeah, considering how long we've known each other, it's great to do a podcast exchange, which is awesome.
Absolutely. And of course, we met in person recently at the Marketers Cruise down near the Caribbean.
Also very cool.
I was looking at the map. I think technically we're in the Atlantic because the Caribbean is south of the islands and north of the islands would be the Atlantic. But in, near, I don't know. Change the names of everything anyway. So, so tell me a bit about what you do as a launch manager.
Yeah. So like you were saying, I work with coaches. I like to work with coaches specifically, and I help them launch. It's really so that I work with people who also have teams, and I help them. Like I make sure that everybody's on task. I'd like to do like strategizing with the coach and planning, and then making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it. Because usually the coach wants to be out speaking and selling and coaching, and not really worrying about is everything getting done for their launch. And I do this because I was in my corporate career, I was a project manager. So I've been in project management now for about 15 years, and decided to bring all of those skills into the coaching world because I know that, that's not something that everybody has. And, I feel like so many coaches are, such visionary people, or like ideas people, or they're creatives, they're healers, but they're not the best at being organizing, planning, structure, all that kind of stuff. And that's my wheelhouse. So I help to bring that into the world. And I really feel that it helps kind of calm the chaos of launching, because, chaos launching, there's a lot to do. Well, I mean, you do summits all the time. Like, it is a lot of work, all the wrangling, though you have an amazing tool that you use. But even with that, there's still, a lot of work to be done, and it can be really overwhelming for people. So I helped, one of my superpowers is to make things this sort of big, complex, project or launch, which could have, like, I have a project plan that's like it's almost 300 tasks long. And so someone seeing that, they might be like, what? But I help them to get this big complex thing and just bring it down into these really easy, manageable chunks, and then just say, okay, focus on this right now. This is what we're going to do. Trust the process. We'll get there and it'll get done. So, and I've done all my own programs, gift giveaways, summits, book, podcast that I've launched myself. So, and I've meticulously planned all of them. So
I love it. Yeah. And yeah, so there's a concept, and it's probably from some book that I don't know, but somebody mentioned the idea of visionaries versus integrators, which is also the CEO COO dynamic. So the CEO is the visionary, here's what we're doing, here's a 5-year plan. And then the COO is the one who says, okay, well, we're going to need to hire 300 people for this. So we're going to need a warehouse, we're going to need a ship, we're going to need, whatever the tools are. So some people may be hearing that and say, okay, yeah, I kind of get what, project manager, whatnot, but let's look at the contra example. So if somebody doesn't have you, what can go wrong for not having Elisa on their team?
Well, I think it can get a bit chaotic, and I think that things can get missed as well. Sometimes, and also I think that people don't start early enough, like especially with, if you're gonna, as part of your launch, if you want people to help promote the event that you're doing, you want to start building those relationships with those, they could be JV partners or promotional partners, affiliates, whatever you want to call them. You want to engage them early. And so some people don't start thinking about that. Like, oh, my launch is in 6 weeks time, and they think that's good enough. But like, if you go to your partners, that may not be enough time. Their calendar may be full already. So then you won't get, you may not, and because of that, you may not get enough people to your event in which to pitch your program to. And so I think things like that, like not starting early enough and not knowing all of those pieces and the order in which they should be going. Because then I think, yeah, a lot of stuff can get missed. And then if things get missed, then, um, yeah, maybe people don't show up or, the launch just isn't as successful as it could be because you didn't think of all those pieces. You didn't think about the order in which they should go and, and starting early enough to
Yeah.
get it all done. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always amazed when people reach out to me and say, "Hey, yeah, my launch is in 3 weeks. Can you promote it?" And I'm like, "What?" I mean, now with my resource letter, I say, "Oh, you can put it in the resource letter, sure." But
Right.
you want dedicated promotion, or people who they're at an event and say, I have a launch coming up in 3 weeks. I'm looking for promoters." I'm like, good for you. That's proud of you. Glad you were nice to have dreams. But
Yeah.
no stranger is going to promote your launch that's coming up in 3 weeks unless they're really, really impressed by you.
Right, exactly. And you really want to build that relationship with people and yeah, because even with me, like I had someone I met in a networking event and then they came to me later, we met up and it was like, okay, yeah, maybe we could promote each other, but then kind of didn't work. They weren't ready for me yet or something. And then like, oh, well, could you just promote, like sell this product for us? And I was like, actually, no, because I don't know you. I don't. And I was actually speaking to a JV manager, not even the coach itself. So I was like, I've never met this person. I haven't seen their work. I haven't, so no, I don't feel comfortable in selling your product quite yet. And so you really need to take that time to build a relationship, let people see what you're all about, even come to your event, give them a free ticket to something so they can see what you're all about. And then they'll like, they will know, love and trust you and want to promote you and share your wisdom with their people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like you said there about, your event is their first taste of getting the sense of working with you. One mistake that I see a lot is if you just see your event as a sales opportunity. And in other words, if I'm a salesman, we get on a call and you don't buy, we just both waste our time.
Right.
And so if you make your webinar or your event or whatever like that it's all pitch and it's not about making connections, not about providing value, teaching, making them better off, then people are going to leave your event and say, I just wasted my time. And if they come back
Yes.
to, if I promote it, they come back to me and I say, hey, yeah, how was Joe's webinar? And they say, I don't know. Did you learn anything? Not really. It was really very pitchy. I'm never promoting it again because I am asking my audience to pay their time to
Yeah.
attend this event, and time ain't free. Time's the most expensive thing you've got. So, yep.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that. And I hate that too. Like I hate when I go to something and think like, oh, like that kind of, yeah, that wasted my time. And then we always get taught, I found in a lot of coaching programs, that if you're going to do like a webinar or something, to only teach the what, but never the how.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love that as well. Like, I don't think, obviously, you don't need to teach someone everything about the how, because like, why would they then buy your program? But you can still give them exercises. You can still teach them some things. You can, teach them maybe things around what your program's about to still really provide value with that. And yeah, that even as you are doing that event, it all kind of leads to what you are selling, but you don't need to constantly be like, and that's why I created this program, and that's why I created this program. You don't need to be constantly pitching about it. I think people will kind of get it because that'll be like the natural flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even had that with one of my partners recently. We're thinking of doing something together, and she gave me an outline, and I was like, "Oh, that just sounded entirely pitchy to me. There was like no value to it."
Yeah.
And her kind of viewpoint was that, well, we don't want to overwhelm people, and I get that. I think that there's a bit of a balance between, but you still want to provide value, and you want people to leave with something because if you don't give them anything, why would they think that they're gonna? Why would they pay for your program if they don't think you're actually going to give them anything?
Yeah.
If you never give them anything to start with.
And I think there's a benefit in overwhelming done the right way. So, like, if you were to do a workshop and you were to say, I'm going to teach you everything that goes into a launch. And, if you have a 300 item, your workshop would be 9 hours long. But, but you do it in categories. You basically like, all right, so here's what you need to know to find partners. Here's what you need to know to set up the copy. And here's what you need to know for this. And, at the beginning, you tell them you can drink out of the fire hose. It's going to be intensive. And they're like, okay, yeah, I'm ready. I got my notes. And then you just fire hose them. And then at the end, they're like, whoa. Then you say, so do you want to do that yourself, or would you like to hire me to do it for you? And they're like,
Right.
you should do it. But
Exactly.
you delivered everything that they asked for. Yeah, and I think for most, I think this myth a lot of coaches have that they have some secret sauce.
Mm.
Like you read the same books I did, and you watched the same YouTube videos I did. There's no secret sauce.
Yeah.
Like there's only one secret to manifestation. There's only one secret to business growth, and usually it's get in front of the right customers, offer them a valuable product, and deliver. Like that's the model of business. There's no
Pretty
secret.
much.
We've been
Yeah.
doing it for, do this for thousands of years, and so it's rarely the information. It's usually the implementation, the transformation. So you can teach
Exactly.
them everything. Like if you teach them everything they'll be like, "Whoa, you know too much." That's what I do when I talk about running summits for people. Like I'll tell you everything you know to run a summit, and you don't want to
Yeah.
do it because knowing
Mhm.
everything I'm going to teach you, you're still going to have to screw up 10 times to get to the point I'm at. So you're going to have to run 10
Exactly.
summits wrong, and then you can do it yourself. You'll be great and do everything I do. Oh, by the way, it takes me about 10 hours plus I have a network. Do you have a network? No, you don't. Okay, so you're going to need to build that. That's going to take about 500 hours. So yeah, I'll
Right.
teach you everything. Do it yourself. Go for it. It'll take you a mere 600 hours and you'll be exactly where I am. So no, you want me to do
Yeah.
it? You sure?
Yeah, I've even done that too, where some people are like, oh, I don't know if I'm like ready to work with you yet. And I was like, okay, well, like, if you want some help with it, you can, I have like my sort of project plan, my launch plan. I even have a summit plan, and it's like, it's basically a Google sheet because that can be like used for everything. Not everybody knows Notion or Asana
Yep.
or whatever, but everybody can access Google Sheets and it's got all these different tabs. And then I've had people come back to me being like, your plan is too crazy for me. I need your help now. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it literally tells you every single thing you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then just looking at that, they're just like, what? Okay, now I need some help. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's key. And I think that's powerful in the initial sales process. When you take them
Mhm.
through everything they're going to need to do. Now there might be certain things that you hold back if it's like a formula or an investment strategy or something like that. Then you say, okay, that you learn in the program. But
Right.
the rest of it, usually you can just teach them everything and then they're going to look at it. I haven't published it yet, but I've written a book on everything I know about collaborations and partnerships. And it's 57,000 words long and I haven't finished. So it'll be like 62,000 words. So that's 250 pages or something. And when I publish it, I'll publish two versions, and one of them be whatever I'm going to call the book, the guide to partnerships. And the other one, the cover is going to be something like, "This book is too long, and you're not going to read it anyway. Just hire me to do it for you." And I'll mail it to people, and that's what the cover will say. Everything I know is in here, but you don't want to read it. Just hire me to do it for you.
And I love what you said earlier too about the mistakes that you make along the way. And I think that that's something, yeah, like sort of both of us bring, right? Like we already had the experience, so therefore we know the flow. And even the way that my brain sort of works, like when I was first launching my podcast, yes, I took a course, I knew exactly what to do. But I remember sitting there and being like, okay, like I actually take the time to sit down and be like, what is the flow here? And I don't think that many people do that. I
yeah.
actually think, okay, if I am bringing a guest on, what information do I need? How am I going to get that from that person? Like, and if I'm publishing it, okay, what information do I need? And do I need to get that first, and actually like going through it step by step and like tweaking and changing all the different steps as I go to really like piece it out. And yeah, so I think that that's something like also one of my kind of superpowers, that sort of
Yeah.
that process and really just taking the time to, and I tell people to do this, to sit down and do it, but I just don't think everybody's brain works that way. And so you can kind of trust, and same with you, right? You've done that with the summits. And so you can
Mm-hmm.
trust, like, I know this whole process. I know it step by step. I know the right things, and I've tweaked it and continually improved every single summit.
Yeah, and I think that's key there too. That not only is going to be a headache for you if you don't collect the headshots or you don't collect the this or you don't have the copy, but also this may be someone's first real impression of you. I've met someone, and because there are so many people I've basically lost professional respect for promoting them because I met them. I believe they're ethical. I believe they are attempting to provide value. They're good people, but then I say, yeah, sure, I'll promote you or I'll speak on your stage. I hardly ever speak on anyone else's stage because they all drive me nuts. And because I'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll promote you or whatever. And I'm like, so do you have the copy? No, we don't have it yet. Well, you're expecting me to start mailing for this in a week and a half. I'm writing my emails for then now. I'm gonna need that copy now because I'm not just cutting and pasting your copy. So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
need that material. Do you have the sales page? Oh no, this you can't click on the sales page until the sales page is locked until the day of the event. I'm like, okay, do you have anything I can use? And I'm chasing around for this information. And I'm like, if I'm going to do this much work, I'll sell my own program.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's the other thing. That's a really key thing is make it easy for them.
yeah.
Make it so easy. Give them one place where it has the graphics, it has the swipe copy that they can just use and make it available early on so that they
Mhm.
can do it. Yeah. I have that with one of my clients who's just like, oh, we'll just do it just in time. Oh, do we really need to give it to them a week early? I'm like, yes, we 100% do. We need to work on that right now. Like I
Yep.
needed that last week because actually I wanted to send it today, but we haven't even started writing the swipe copy yet. And so yeah, so I think that some people just kind of they don't really think that way, and I think they don't maybe consider how other people work, right? Like you were saying, I like to take your copy, make it my own, and I like to schedule my emails a week or two in advance, and some
Yeah.
people do it the day of, so everybody kind of works differently, and I think that you need to
Mhm.
consider that when you're getting things ready, which is part of the launch plan,
Yep.
right? When you're working with your JVs, it's not only like interacting with them, but also getting that swipe copy and everything ready so that they're good to go. And then also, reminding them, being like, hey, promo starts today. Remember to send your email.
Yeah,
Because
the,
people
the
forget.
irony, of course, is sometimes, as I've worked with some of these people too, where they're going to get the copy out the day before. But if you reach out to them and say, hey, could you promote my event in 6 months? Oh, sorry, our calendar's full.
Right.
So you expect me to jump for yours, but you're planning 14 months out for promoting other people. Got it. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because
Interesting.
they don't even it doesn't occur to them to think about themselves on the other side of the same situation. I've met so many people who could not promote a mirror of themselves. They would not be a good partner for themselves because the materials they need they wouldn't have in time. But yeah,
Mhm.
something I was on my summits is it's always funny when people ask me, so when's the promotion window for the summit? I'm like, you have a link now, but the summit's 3 months from now. I'm like, okay, that's up to you. But because I always felt this as if it's an event, when I ran sci-fi conventions, you would announce the next one at the end of the previous one. So,
Right.
the 2026 event's announced in the 2025 event, and they're selling tickets right there for a year later because you're blocking this time out. So if you're running a 3-day event, what are you doing announcing it 8 days in advance?
Right.
Who's going to
Yeah.
come
People
to
don't
it?
just have 3 days time
Yeah.
available.
Well, broke people do. People who don't really have a business and are professional summit attenders, they got time for that. But people are going to
Yes,
be
it's
dropping
precious.
$10,000 in a program. They're busy. They got
Mhm.
businesses. Like they need to
Yeah.
know about things 6 months in advance, especially if it's really an
100%.
event. So
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's an in-person one, even like sooner, like that's like a good at least 8 months of planning, I would say, and you want to get people in that. And I think what with retreats too, you want to give people as well 8, 10 months if they're going to be traveling somewhere,
mhm.
and if it's a retreat and it's like a week or something, you need to be giving them a lot of time.
Yeah, I remember the first time I realized that people will go to a live event within 30 days. I'm like, people do that? Really? Yeah.
Like, wow.
Like it's always kind of in my head, like, well, obviously you need at least 4 months to get a plane ticket.
Right.
The fact that you could go out, you can buy a plane ticket for, next Tuesday is possible. Like, oh, I guess you can.
You can.
I guess,
Yeah. Might cost you.
I guess you can. But it was just such a, awakening because me, for a live event, if I'm traveling to it, I'm planning 6 months out, 8 months out. And, to look at their marketing oh, we don't even tell people the date of it until 3 months out. What? It's like it's a
Yeah,
secret,
crazy.
secret speakeasy or something. Date and time
Yeah.
to be announced later.
Totally.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I
that's,
think it does make sense. Yeah. And I think depending on the launch, the promotional period is different. If it is just like sort of like a 60-minute webinar,
yeah.
if you get somebody to sign up months in advance, they'll likely forget and not show up.
Yes.
So that kind of can be shorter. That can be more like 10 days, 7 days. And even sometimes people will join the day before.
Hmm.
They'll be like, oh, that's tomorrow. Okay, I got time at 9 o'clock. That's fine. I can, squeeze in an hour, move things around in my schedule. So that's a little bit easier. But yeah, if it's an in-person or it requires travel, or it's a multi-day, you got to give them more notice for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to Chuck Anderson a while ago, and because a lot of people say, well, we promote late because the show rate is higher. And he says, that is true. That data is absolutely correct. But the data most people don't measure is closing rate.
Mm.
So the show rate is higher the later someone signs up. But the closing rate, like the percentage chance they buy, is higher the earlier they sign up.
Oh, interesting.
So if someone signs up
Very
5 weeks in advance, the chance they're going to show up is much lower. But if they do show up, the chance that person's going to buy is much higher because they're busy
Mm.
enough that they need to do it. And they're organized enough. Like if I sign up for an event in 2 months from now, I'm putting it on my calendar. I don't forget. It's on my calendar. I mean, I do forget. You tell me the next day, I don't remember what I signed up for. I don't know I'm doing tomorrow, let alone next week. But my calendar knows what I'm doing because I didn't just sign up and say, oh yeah, I'll do something on the April. It goes on the calendar. So
Yes,
I could sign up
exactly.
for a year from now and I'm not going to forget it's happening. It's on the calendar.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the fact that people forget a webinar they sign up, like, how'd you forget? Didn't you I put it on a post-it note. Like, so you don't have a
I
business. That's what you're telling me. Got it. Okay.
know. Yeah.
The people who need to be reminded the day before probably aren't great prospects because how big can their business be if they're running on post-it notes and
Mm, that's the
ideas?
point.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Very good
Um,
point.
yeah, so this is and essentially this conversation kind of reveals the interplay between the tech side of a launch and the networking
Mm,
side of a launch. Because
yeah.
bad systems will ruin relationships.
Mm, very good point.
Not necessarily like I
Yes,
don't like you anymore, but like I don't promote this person anymore. It's too much trouble, and or they can't convert. People I've
right.
send them 50 opt-ins and no money comes back. I'm like, I sent you 50 people.
Yes.
But I've had people tell me that we find that if we I've actually had people tell me that industry average is 2 to 3% of total opt-ins convert,
Okay, right.
which sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible.
If I send you 50 people, 0 to 1 conversion, which means a decent chance if I send 50 opt-ins and I get $0, that seems like less than the number of dollars I was hoping for that amount of effort.
Yes, that's true. And I'm sure you find it as well, like in terms of, working with people, especially when a summit, I find that as it's kind of like you're sort of herding the cats and getting all the information from the speakers. And then you have people with like their links don't work at all. And I'm
Yeah,
like, it drives me kind of crazy sometimes. I think, just give me a URL. All I need is the title of your gift and the URL, and you should click it and it should work and it should be
yeah,
so simple. And so sometimes when I would have to, like as the organizer, the project manager of it, to go back and forth with someone like 10 times to get this working link, I may think, I don't know if I want you in my next summit, just
yeah.
because this cost me a lot of time to
Well,
get your link.
I'm a big fan of what I call tactical laziness. So identifying what is important, what is not important. Like I don't check the links of any of my speakers. They put a
Mm,
link in, there it is. If someone in the event says, hey, this link isn't working, then I'll say, hey, you should give me a link that works. Because the
yeah.
gift not working isn't my problem, it's their problem.
Yes. Yeah,
I've
they're
already
not going to
got
get the opt-in.
that
Yeah.
person already opted into my summit. I've already got their email address. You want their email address, you better make your link work. And if you have a
Yes.
link that's not going to be good 6 months from now, when someone who's in my inner circle that gets access to the old VIP pages, well, that's a you problem, not a me problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And same thing. But I've definitely have some speakers who I I am not interested in spending a lot of time with a speaker. I
Right.
want you to put in the application, get on the stage. Same thing with the podcast. When I do the podcast, when it's not Podapalooza, I have a calendar link. Everything's there except for the headshot because you can't.
Same.
So everything's there. So it's all right there. If they fill out the application, they don't include a bio, I cancel the meeting. Like I don't have the information, so you don't get a time until I got your info. And so a lot of it's just preloading. It's funny when I get on someone's podcast, they say, "Yeah, okay, now I need this, now I need that." I'm like, "Didn't I already send you that? Why are there extra
Right.
steps?" I fill out the application, I show up and say smart things, I go home. That's the
Yeah,
podcast process. If
that's
there's more
it.
steps,
It's
I
really
fill out
quite
one.
that simple.
It was on Kartra, 8-page long application. And then the validation field for the phone number would not accept anything I could think of. It wouldn't accept all numbers, it wouldn't accept dashes, it wouldn't accept, like, I couldn't figure out how to get it to accept the phone number, which means it wouldn't accept the entire application.
Oh,
And I emailed them and I'm like, I said, I need to know the validation format for the phone number, which I was hoping they'd understand what that meant. And of course they didn't. They said, oh, I'll check with my tech team. I'm like, it's Kartra, you don't need a tech team to set up a form. You should
Yes.
understand how your form works and tell me what I need to put into it so I can put it in so I can hit submit. They're like, oh, we'll
So I
get
don't
back to you.
lose all the 7 pages. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not filling this out again. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll let
No.
you know when it's fixed. I'm like, good. That'll help for your next guest because it's not going to be me. I have already invested more time in this podcast than it is worth. Making it easy for me. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
and speaking of time, I need to let you
Yes.
go so you can get on the next show. So final thoughts, and of course, how do people get in touch with you and learn about your techie stuff?
Yeah. So my well, final words is, kind of thinking about what we're doing today is really take the time to make sure that you do things right when you are launching, because it can take a lot of work. So make sure be kind to yourself and give yourself enough time to do everything that needs to get done. And yeah, you can find me at my website is inspirationbyelisa.com. So it's all one word, inspiration by Elisa, and Elisa is ELISA.com. And in there, yeah, you can get links to my podcast as well, which is Authentically Elisa, which I'm going to have Michael on soon. And yeah, and information about my services.
Fantastic. It says Inspiration by Elisa. That's like Lisa on the internet. Elisa.
Exactly.
Inspirationbyelisa.com, where you'll find all of Elisa Bogarts' things. And I said it right this time.
You did. Thank
Don't
you
worry,
very
I'll forget
much.
it next time. But right now I remember. And yeah, I love all kinds of great concepts in there. Very important, simple but powerful tools. Give yourself more time than you think you need is probably the most important thing that you said right there at the end. Because however long you think it's going to take, it will take longer.
It will, for
So,
sure.
really good stuff and great to have you on. I look forward to being on your show.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's great being on your show. Thank you.